Good evening, everyone. Tonight is the Town Council regular monthly meeting, Wednesday, February 19th, 2020. You can all stand for the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point, are there any visitors that would like to be recognized? Andrew, can you sit over there? It's over their phones, so we need you to sit there or stand, whatever.
I just want to be an 8-second comment.
Yep.
A request. It's really hard to find on the town website when the town council meetings are.
Okay.
Like really hard. So if you guys could maybe take a look at that and make that more prevalent, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know what she's talking about, because when you click on Town Council, it comes up Board of Selectmen. And then you've got to try to figure out how you get to the Town Council meetings, which you can do, but she's right, it's not easy.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrea.
Anybody else? All right, on to number 3, which is the approval of the minutes, February 5th, 2020. Motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Number 3 are the appointments for appointments and resignations. We have appointments tonight of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 individuals. Everybody's received the information on all these individuals? Okay. Prior to doing this, I know we've talked about the appointments to boards and commissions at previous meetings. So one of the things that we kind of need to kind of address sooner rather than later is with the addition of the Green Party in our town, we sort of have to give them the ability to put people forth for these positions. We are regulated, we have our town charter which dictates and indicates how we go about setting the appointments for the boards and commissions. It gives the town council 60 days to appoint these new members to these boards or commissions. Subsequent to that, we're under the charter, the state statute for minority representation. So the minority representation brings into play the Democratic Party and the Green Party at this point. So we're going to have to come up with a policy going forward on how we address this issue by giving them the ability to come forth. It's got to be fair for everybody here. I've had long conversations with Eric about this, obviously Green Party member, and we just need to realize that we have to give the opportunity for all them to put people forth. So we need to sort of set a policy that kind of works in conjunction with the charter, not changing the charter obviously because we can't do that, but a policy that will help direct us via the charter. So we have 60 days. If we can probably want to discuss this in length at the next meeting, but some of the things that I'm thinking is setting up a period of time that we would open up the floor to, whether it be 30 days or whether it would be the next meeting or however we kind of set that up. So we put a policy in place that allows everybody to come forth that might be interested into a vacated board or commission. So that's something probably for our next meeting that we'll put on the agenda. I would just want to put that out there now. Eric had some concerns, obviously. How do other people get involved, kind of thing. And I think it's good for the town that other people will be involved. So that being, go ahead.
There's also the question of the unaffiliated and how they
Again,
approach the council, because there's no process for them. So
Right.
with the political parties that exist in town, there's somewhat of a process. Each political party vets the candidates.
Yep.
Unaffiliates have the opportunity to come directly to the board.
Yep.
What is the process that we want to
That's-
go through to engage them and to determine their
Right.
qualifications?
Well, I think in the past, but in the past, I think they've come forth with their resume and then come to the Board of Selectmen. The bigger issue to all that is how do we get the word to them? I mean, the political parties, it's easy. We can go to the chairman of that political party and say, position's open, here it is. We can get that message out to the political parties. The unaffiliated, a different group where there might be a lot of them out there that would like to, know, but how do we get that to them? So something we can discuss later at the next meeting, I think would be good. But again, trying to come up with a timeline and the amount of time that we're going to leave out there so that people can have the ability to come forth. That being said, so we have the 5 appointments for tonight. We can do them, I guess, all together unless anybody wants them to do as individuals. If it's good with all as one, I can accept a motion to appoint Raymond Iverson, Mike Corcoran, Mark Seth Lender, John Olson, and Ryan Teitzel? Teisel, sorry.
So moved.
Okay. Second. Any other further discussion?
I know some of the representatives, some of the folks are here. I don't know if you want to entertain, ask them to speak.
Would anybody like to hear from any of them?
Well, they came to the meeting, so if
We
they'd like
have
to
some- I
speak,
mean,
I think
yeah.
we should let them speak.
Do you guys like to come forth and say anything?
Not to put you on the spot.
No, I mean, we have your paperwork. I mean, so it isn't like we, obviously, we have information.
Yeah, sure. You may-
Yeah, just come over here.
Hey, everybody, my name is Ryan Tardisell.
Yeah.
I'm a resident in town. I've been in Clinton for about 8 years,
Mhm.
and just looking to do something to get a little more involved. For a long time, I work from home. I work for a manufacturer based in Miami, and so I don't get a lot of face time with a lot of the locals. But I'm a landowner, and just wanted to start meeting more people and get involved.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Got my resume, right?
Everybody else good? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Congratulations, and thank you for your service. Thank you for all this coming. Number 5 is the, let's see, Finance Director, financial reports.
Good evening, everybody. This is the January reports that we're reporting on, so we're 7 months into the fiscal year. And we kept the same format as last month. We got some favorable comments on it, so what you'll see is the revenue report, which is the same, and there's comparisons of current year-to-date actual January versus the prior year, as well as compared to the budget. And then you have the expenditures attached, which is the same thing. I'll just point out some of the highlights. I won't reread everything. I believe you all got copies of my summary, so I'll just point out some of the highlights. In January, for state revenues, we received an additional $1.4 million of the $4.9 budgeted for the ECS, bringing our total received to date of the $2.7 million. We also received the $288,000 community stabilization grant, so all those state monies are right on target, except for the one state town's road aid, which we still haven't received, $133. Other town revenues are in line with the budgets, with the tax collections through January being at 95%. Tax collector is very happy with the rates that she's seeing for her collections. Town clerk, 72% of the budget, about another $21,000. Building fees are still strong. They're at 83% of their budget, with still 5 months of the year to go. Investment income, we did receive another $9,000 in January, bringing our total to 83. But like I said, and that's because of the higher balances in the accounts because of the collections, of course. Those are the revenue highlights. Expenditures, on a month-to-month basis, not much changes. What I can say is that we're 58% would be 7/12 of the budget. So if you want to look at the final column on the expenditure summary report, you can see pretty much all the budgets are at about 58%. Some of them are a little bit higher because we've encumbered some of the funds that are on an annual basis that we know of. And then attached to that is the departmental budgets, which you're getting more familiar with now that you're going through the budgeting process. This will become a little more familiar to you. Some of the highlights in that are town manager budget. I do expect to be about $23,000 over at the end of the year due to higher salaries and annual increases. Finance, assessor, tax collector, I mean, nothing much has changed in any of those budgets. We still have the savings in the water pollution because of the open position, still 34% of the grant. Other general government, some of these in that area they're behind on the invoices that we receive, mostly the legal fees and things like that we typically are behind at this time of year. But legal right now is only 45% of the budget, but I think there's at least 2 months of services that we don't have in there. Union negotiator, we haven't used much of those services. There's $38,000 of that remaining, but you do know the union contracts are expiring at the end of this year. So I won't go through each of those. Accounting and audit services are $2.8 thousand over budget. That's due to additional actuary disclosure fees, bills that they sent us. Police, the chief says he's still all on budget. The communications, though, I will note, though, it's starting to track a little higher in his overtime. He's 99% of his overtime to date. Debt payments were up to date, the leases were paid monthly, all of our debt payments have been made for fiscal year 20, and the fringe benefits, I do see that as being on track at this time. Also with the, so that's the expenditure side of it, the highlights, like I mentioned. And you also have the investment report, which is the same you received last month. And again, it's just the additional $8,000 in investment income. And then the fund balance calculation hasn't changed, nor the contingency from prior month. So you have that calculation as well. The only other things I just wanted to mention to you are some of the things that we're also working on in our department, that we've been working on the 21 budget that you've been going through that process. We're still doing some audit-related things in our department, uniform chart of accounts filings, and we're also prepping for fiscal year 20 already at this point. We're working on a lot of grant reporting, which is, we have some significant grants, with the town. The STEEP grant, which we're just wrapping up, which was for the Peters Complex, and we just did a filing for that, got an additional $60,000 of reimbursement of our expenses for that. That just came in this past week. That's not in the general fund, that's in the other funds. The SAMHSA grant, which is the $1.1 million grant that the Youth and Family Service has, is requiring information from our Department of Compliance as well, so we're working on that. So there's all that grant reporting that goes on behind the scenes. We're also going to start beginning our year-end forecast as well. We did that last year about this time, and we're going to start working with the department heads, and I'm not sure when we'll actually be able to get that to you, if not the next meeting, then the meeting after that. And I'm starting to work with department heads on working on their budgets, but they know that, we've been talking through that. Any questions, comments? And if anything comes up, once you take a look at the reports, if you want to email, you can also follow up on things.
Pretty good.
Anything else?
Thank you, Sue.
Yeah, I appreciate this format and this information.
All right, item number 6 is the chairman's report. I just have one thing. The Clinton Historical Society, Christy Pontillo, sent me the duties of the Clinton Town Historian. I guess we talked about it, so he had sent me an email with things that I guess they've discussed. So I just wanted to hand a copy of this out to everybody so that they'll have this. And maybe at the next meeting we can talk about it to see if it's something we want to put in place. He's talking about putting some term limits on the individual that gets appointed, where in the past it's been sort of a lifetime appointment. He has, I guess, researched other towns and said that there's sometimes a term on that. Just grab one of these before you guys all leave, and then we can maybe talk about that at the next meeting and see what we want to do on that. I think putting a policy in place and having some job descriptions and titles will, if we do go to a term on this, we'll solve some issues the next time this all happens. Because I think this took quite a bit out of everybody the last time that we did it. So hopefully it'll have everything go smoother the next time. That is it. Next on to the town manager report.
You have my written report. Just by way of follow-up, I did give you the map showing where the water work is anticipated by Connecticut Water for south of Route 1. Your prior discussion was whether or not the town could take advantage of the street opening to start burying utilities. So I did have a continued conversation with Eversource. I guess the upshot is that they would do it if there's 1,000 feet. So clearly we've got more than 1,000 linear feet in all of these phases. I think it's a matter of cost in order to bury it. It would be 100% borne on the town, and you're paying for excavation, putting the utility in the ground, as well as running the connection back to the individual homeowner's meter. So it's a multi-million-dollar project for only one phase. So to do all 4 phases as envisioned by Connecticut Water is a rather significant lift.
Carl, would we collect the distribution fees that the power company now does for the individual houses the town collected in the future?
No. If you were not
Unless we go thorough, make our point, make our case.
And that's an interesting idea, but perhaps not. So it's a rather significant cost item that not likely to recoup by way of increased assessments of the property. So there really isn't a financing tool other than just direct injection of cash. Normally, this would be done in perhaps more of a downtown setting, trying to beautify a commercial strip. Madison did that recently, beautify their downtown. Doing it in more of a residential setting is a more significant infrastructure setup because you're running so many laterals, for lack of a better word, to connect the houses into the power lines. On some additional fronts that I didn't write, so there's a few points to call to your attention to for procurement. First, the charter requires the manager to prepare procurement regulations. So there needs to be an update to the town's purchasing policy. In the process of doing that, which I will ultimately bring to the board for the board to approve. We'll also be taking advantage of a piggyback bid through the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities to try and purchase electricity as a commodity to help address some of the costs in the budget and hopefully deliver some savings over the standard offer from Eversource. We are going out on the street for a request for proposal for town attorney services, try and pull under one umbrella town attorney, labor council, and land use environmental attorney. So there's an RFP that's been put together, will be advertised in the New Haven Register as we've done for other procurements. It'll be on CCM's website, and we'll send some direct solicitations to a number of firms that have got this as sort of their usual bread and butter business. And then ultimately that becomes a process that this board will have to interview since the town attorney's your appointment.
Can I ask a question? Is there any status follow-up with the NRCS project and FEMA project? Any meetings to resolve where we were standing as of last, I guess, November? We're sort of in a loophole at that point, waiting for DEEP to respond.
So was there a meeting? Yes. Was there progress? No. So that's the long and short of it. There was supposed to be a meeting that was going to have the Army Corps of Engineers' attention and DEEP's attention today. However, one of the two backed out, so that meant the other one couldn't come either because they need to apparently work in sync and can't bother to extend some direction and guidance without the other one there. So we had that met of those that felt comfortable meeting, but it was not something that put us on a path for any better progress than you've been at for a while now. The hope is that they will make a decision to come together in March and come into town, and then maybe there'll be an opportunity for progress at that point in time once they decide that they can talk to each other and give us the benefit of their insight.
Because the hands change quite often at NRCS, and I know that we had already filled out an application to extend for the funds. I don't know what the next timeline or deadline is for that application. You might just want to check on that.
We already discussed that this afternoon, so we discussed the extensions that need to be put in place. There's FEMA extensions that need to be put in place. I think everyone was generally disappointed by DEEP and Army Corps' non-attendance because clearly it puts pressure on everyone to deliver a project, and everyone is going to have to act to extend timelines. So I think we have a path forward with FEMA. The NRCS folks gave us some insight in terms of what we've got to do from a timing perspective. It didn't seem that it was going to be an extraordinary hurdle to get the extensions, more of an administrative function. But it's something that has to be done, and I think everybody could commiserate that there was a challenge with the state not showing up, or at least the DEEP portion of the state not showing up.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to item number 8, which is the Town Council Committee Liaison Reports. Anybody would like to comment?
I'll make mine real short.
Have at it.
It was the police commission that met with, last Monday. Nothing world-shattering happening other than the fact that they did have 10 candidates involved in the sergeant and the corporal's promotion. As you know, Sergeant Dunn left, so they'll promote someone to sergeant from the corporal field, and then they'll backfill to the corporal. And I believe it's next week that they start in earnest with their interviews. But other than that, uneventful.
Okay. Tim?
Mary, I'll give you a copy of the minutes of the meeting that I attended for economic development. You can put it in everybody's box. Just briefly, the main focus, as I mentioned the last meeting and continues, is on the STEM program. They have met with Mary Ann O'Donnell and all, I think Andrea, you were there at that meeting too. They had a subsequent follow-up, at least Bob Warner did, and so that's progressing. I don't know where it stands right now, but I think all parties have been introduced to the program that has been very successful in Wallingford, and so that's continuing on as far as I know. A couple of other things, we mentioned the marketing plan. I think in the presentation on the EDC budget, Carl mentioned about the fact that they really haven't submitted a plan, a marketing plan for expenditures on how they would like to promote the town, because their budget was increased significantly in marketing. So they did discuss that, and they are working on a plan as far as that's concerned. They need to update the website. I don't know how they're going to handle that. They want to, connect it somehow to the town website. And that's, those are the major points.
Thank you. I think they scheduled another meeting on the 27th, I think, for the STEM program. I think Bob Warner had sent me an email that they were trying to schedule another meeting for the 27th with everybody.
Okay.
So,
I'm not aware of that.
all right. Carol?
There was a meeting of the fire headquarters and a research committee last week, and it is an extremely complex question as to how to meet the needs of the fire department and the town going forward. And I took a tour of the fire department, and there is not a square inch of empty space there. I was absolutely floored with they have one office, they have one office that has 5 individuals working in 5 desks with 5 people who have to make ongoing reports to the state with the activities of the department. The chief's office, there are 2 of them using that. There are 4 guys in another office. It is so full to capacity. I was absolutely totally surprised. I had no idea. So I just think we have to keep in mind that something will have to happen in the next few years to meet the needs of the larger equipment that is being utilized by fire departments because of the materials that they're finding in fires. Fires are so different today from what they were 20 years ago. Half the stuff they're encountering didn't exist 20 years ago. So they have to be ready for anything when they get called out, and it's taking a toll on their resources. I'm just going to give a quick example. Saturday morning, there was a tractor-trailer truck on fire on the turnpike. They don't know what's in there. They don't know what's in the truck. It's on fire. They have to go prepared for anything. And when you think about it from that point of view, it's very intimidating. And every time I have a meeting with this group, I just can't get over the commitment of these guys and their dedication to giving us the best possible service they can and remaining as a volunteer department for indefinitely. My first discussion with them was, You can't have it both ways. You can't enhance your facility and have the thought of a paid department in your mind at the same time. It's just not going to happen. And the conversation that flowed from there really, you know, I'm not easy to convince. I came out of there convinced that they are determined to keep their volunteer status as long as possible for so many reasons. It affects everything they do. Being a volunteer department, if they were not to be volunteer, it would impact every minute of every day, who they could have, who could be in the department, how they would have to operate. So they are very committed to remaining Clinton's volunteer department, but they need more room. Okay, that's it. A little longer than I thought, but that's it.
Planning and zoning. The Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission met for its regular monthly meeting on February 10th. Of note was the establishment of the High Street, John Street Village District, which was denied after a rather lengthy discussion. Other items of note, the ice cream cafe building with mini golf, the public hearing will be continued at the March 2nd public hearing. The application for Indian River Landing, multi-tenant commercial development, and much of what I'm reading just comes from their minutes. There will be a public hearing scheduled to open on March 2nd per the applicant's request. Other items of note, the special exemption application for the brewery restaurant on John Street. The public hearing will be continued. On March the 2nd, the special exemption application for proposed condominiums on John Street. Public hearing will be continued on March the 2nd. There were some other items of note. Chairman Rossi stated that he had drafted a proposed amendment to the planning and zoning bylaws specifying a protocol for rotating the seating of alternates. He said it would circulate to all commission members. And then new business, Commissioner Alberino and Commissioner Clark worked together to come up with a protocol for planning and zoning commission site walks, which is listed in their minutes. In talking with a few of the commission members, they had expressed the further professional and legal consultation if they could receive that. Next public hearing, as I stated, March the 2nd. Their next regular meeting is March the 9th. And then my second liaison assignment, the Clinton Inland Wetlands Commission, will meet again on March the 3rd, and no agenda has been released as of yet.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep.
Anybody else?
I haven't met with any subcommittee, but members of the Pearson Future Use Committee would like to know the status of the process. And my understanding of when we provided the final report is that the committee is no longer in effect and that a new committee will be formed, but they haven't formally been told that, so I'm not sure. Perhaps at the next meeting an update can be made on where we stand with Pearson Future Use, and something can be distributed to the committee as to their role and the future of the committee.
Okay. Everybody else good? Therefore, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.